on this episode, we are in the wheels of Paul Double. He is a British road rider who's been racing predominantly for Italian teams in the recent past, such as the MGK Viz Colours for Peace team, which is a very hard team to remember actually, as well as currently for the Team Polity Kometa, where he had great success at the Tour of Turkey, where he got third in general classification, which is a stunning result for the British rider, and hopefully we'll see what comes from him. But yeah, sit back and this is the chat. Hi, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good, good. Just I guess, an easy way to start. Like, how did you get into cycling? Because obviously, as we're talking now, you'd just come off the Tour of Turkey, but before then, I guess, was a different route in.
I mean, very like initially, it was just kind of, I guess, a little while out of school, maybe at college, and didn't really have a sport as such. But my friends kind of persuaded me to come along and play five-a-side football occasionally, which I was not very good. I used to claim I did this amazing chip in five-a-side football again, and I it did. It went in the goal, but it wasn't allowed at overhead height, so the goal was disallowed.
Oh,
Anyway, there's another story aside, but one night I was meant to be going there with them, and Dad said, "Oh, just come along and do this like local time trial." I was like, nah, I can't be bothered. And then I went along and did like a respectable time for someone who never rides a bike, really. So started kind of hobby riding at that point, and then in the local club VC Vento, I did some local races and in the UK, but nothing great. I did a race called Ras de Cymru, so however you say it in Wales
hmm.
racing, and I won the time trial and a hill stage there. It wasn't high level, just like club kind of racing, but Flavio Zappi was there with his team, and then he told me at that point that I should go to Italy, do some proper racing. So I went out there in 2017, at maybe 21, which is a bit older, really.
Mm.
Uh, and that's, I think, when cycling started for me. But it's been a a long, bumpy road from that point. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was a bit that kind of, yeah, because I, no, sorry, I'll try that one again. I just didn't see like many junior results, and that kind of explains it because you didn't really race as a junior.
No,
Um,
I think I did some racing junior, but very locally. Just time trials and small things like that.
Yeah, and then obviously racing as a espoir, as some people call it. Like for those who don't know, that's under 23 racing. Um, yeah, like getting spotted by Zappy is pretty because he is a well-known name within cycling, because they've got the Zappy's racing team. Um, is that still going? I can't actually remember.
Yeah. He's still running. He's got a nice place in Italy, and yeah, I'm still in contact with Zappi all the time. And for me, he was a major like stepping stone to being where I am now, and I'm very.
Nice. Yeah, and like I guess like how did you find racing in the Italian scene? And likewise, were you like, did you just go, oh great, like I might as well just go there? Like, was there any doubt in your mind or like hesitancy?
I thought, to be honest, I'd go there and become a professional cyclist in a year. The reality was very different. I was there getting my head kicked in, suffering at the back of the peloton, scared at the back of the peloton because it's very different to what I'd done in the UK. And it wasn't until the end of the first year where I started like showing signs of talent, I guess. More because of my position at that point. And then there was a big question mark. I was like, to be honest, every year in cycling, it's a big question mark to whether I'm going to continue. Like, even when I had better results, I won it the year after. I stayed with Zappies and I won a race in Italy, and I got all excited. I thought, this is it. I can step forward now. But no, even that year, I was like, maybe it's just not for me. I think it's just the way it is. I'm not going to be a professional cyclist. But every year, I find a solution, carry on, and now I feel like I'm in a good place and enjoying racing, doing some quite nice results.
Yeah, because you went from Zappies, and I'm gonna have to read this out because I always get this wrong. Eventually, you ended up on the MGK Viz VPM, later known as Colors for Peace as well. Like, it's a very long and confusing name, and I think I may have got that wrong in the intro.
Yeah,
So yeah, sorry, I didn't catch that.
it rolls off the tongue.
Oh yeah, but like, how did you end up with riding with them, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, for me it was really good. So they've been in the Italian scene for some time, and so that was coming out of COVID year 2020. I I'd been with Zappies, hadn't really raced that much. Well, I went back to Zappies, didn't really race that much, and I'd said to him, "Yeah, I think that's it. Like nothing's gonna happen.
Mm,
Maybe I can come out and work with you and just spend some time in Italy doing odd jobs and just kind of like a gap year." And I was kind of excited for that. I was ready to call it a day. And Zappy calls me up one day. He goes, "Oh boy, I've got a ride for you, and they're gonna pay you." So they paid me a little bit of money, and um, yeah, I trained hard, but didn't really go into that season with great expectations. Like back in the Italian scene, I thought I might have progressed further, but it was a good year, and they looked after me. And that year, again, I thought I was gonna turn professional with those results, but no, um, it never worked out for one reason or another. So I was like, I don't think I can keep doing this.
mm.
I did. I went back with them. They looked after me nicely and had another good year, and that's when I signed with Human Powered Health.
Yeah. Well, that second year with them, as you said, was good. You got your UCI win on the stage of
Yeah,
the Tour of Bulgaria. I looked at that stage profile. It wasn't. I'll be honest, it wasn't what I expected. So I have no idea how that race panned out based on the stage profile because it's kind of mountainy, but not. It went uphill for the first half and then downhill for the second half, and that was about it. Like,
I think there was a big. Maybe the profile's wrong because there was a big climb before, so must have been
oh,
maybe 20, 30K out. I think there was a big climb,
okay.
and one of the other teams rode it hard, and then it was like three of them against me, and I tried to get as few of them with me as possible, but there were still two of them coming into the finish. Um, One of them led me out, and then I won the sprint. So, but there was a time that made the race for sure.
Ah, fair enough. Yeah. The stage profile that I saw will be up on screen just now, so you can see the difference. But as in, when you watch the video back, and for the viewers at home. But yeah, what's going through your mind when you're in that situation? Because obviously it has happened to other racers. Most famously, Ian Stannard against Quickstep. Is it Het Nieuwsblad, I think, where he did that, or
I
Kerner?
didn't know, but
Yeah. But
I
like going into that, you're like, I'm a bit outnumbered here. Like, do you think of ways to get rid of them, even though they've got the advantage, or do you just ride it out and hope that they, make a misstep? Like,
that day with the finish, it was big. Like we'd done the climb, the selection was made. It was a flat running. I think I just left it down to my sprint, and they didn't one two me in the finale, so it was ideal. I could sprint it out, which was fine.
oh, awesome. Um, and since then, obviously, you said you went to Powered Health for the year. Like, that's a very, Anglo-centric team compared to Polti Cometa, who are Italian, as well as MJK Viz. Like, how did you find that experience in comparison?
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of wanted. I'd never experienced that. I'd always been in style teams, and um, the other year I wanted to try change, and like on the ground, yeah, like at the races, everything was the atmosphere was lovely. Uh, and yeah, we had fun, but maybe my results weren't quite what I was hoping. It wasn't a bad year. I broke my thumb at the start of the year, so put a bit of on the first part. But then obviously we had the difficult news halfway through the season, or late in the season, that the team wasn't going to continue for the men. So it was again that reality, because it was the first time in my career I thought I had some security. 2 years with human powered health, and then I was like, no, this is just classic pull double. This is it. Call it a day. Job's done. That's cycling done. But and then I kind of changed my mindset and made it my goal to get back in the game, and I'm very lucky to be with Polty Cometa this year. With the help of Gary McQuaid, who's been amazing.
Mm. So how does that come about? Like, well, firstly, what goes through your head? I know you said it was kind of, oh, classic me. It's, another chance gone, or however you want to frame it. Um, what goes through your head when you find out that news, and then how long did it take to get this opportunity with Polty?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I was kind of quite chilled about it. I'd been in this situation sometimes before, and I just kind of, for sure, if when the time comes that cycling's done, it's gonna be hard. But I just think well, British mentality will be alright. Kind of, I'll make it work. Um, but no, Gary McQuaid from Altus, he's helped me a lot, and um, I spoke to him very quickly after, and it was we managed to get in contact with Polty quite quickly, and they'd already been watching me, so because I obviously raced with them in Italy, but also they'd seen me as a professional with human powered health, and they'd already been looking at me and were keen to get me on board.
Wow, that must be a nice feeling that they were already, or you were already on their radar for like to land them is quite nice. And obviously, does it, like, obviously in that situation, sometimes you might think, well, any port in a storm, like any team that'll have me, great, I'll go with them. But is there an element of, oh, I'm glad it's an Italian or a Spanish or a French team, because they typically get the wild cards for the Grand Tours?
I think being an Italian team was special for me. Like, I feel at home there, and speaking relatively good Italian. Yeah, I think it's kind of perfect for me at that moment.
Mm. Yeah, of course, actually. Like, is the Italian something you've had to really work on, or is it just like,
Uh,
could you actually speak Italian before going to the well, before following Zappi's suggestion of going, oh,
to be honest, in
pop
Zap,
over?
they're all English speakers anyhow, so
Mm.
you're not getting out that much. You're not getting out much. So didn't pick up much Italian with Zappi, but when I was at Colpack, I had to start learning, and then in MG Capovis those 2 years really improved my Italian. So that's, yeah, it's pretty good now. I get by.
Like, I remember I chatted before for a different company with Sean Flynn, and he said for Tudor, he knew when his race was done was when they changed language on the radio. And it's like, well, they're no longer speaking English. I'm done. You know, do they do that to you, where they're like, oh, we better speak English because Paul's still in the race, and then the moment you drop, they're like, cool, back to Italian then.
No, I mean we speak mostly in Italian, but no, the riders and the DSs, they speak a pretty good amount of English as well. So it's a big mix of English, Spanish, and Italian. primarily.
Yeah, yeah. That must be difficult to focus on at times. Um,
It can be.
but yeah, I've mentioned the Tour of Türkiye a couple of times and probably called it Turkey before then. Um, what was that experience like? Because we're talking what 3 days after the end, or two, depending on what you count as the end. Um, like, yeah, what was that race like for you?
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah, the race itself was really nice, and having the team, like just as a team, we rode super well. I think we showed ourselves as a very professional unit, um, working really well for the sprinters who did nice results. We got a win with Lonardi, and the boys looked after me really well all week. Diego just had my back every day. And then on the day that mattered for me, the climbing stage, we rode super nicely. And then I just had to do my best, um, and I think I did a good ride. Um, it's hard to see on TV. I think it's easy to say I threw it away in the final, but you can't see the slopes we were on in the last 4K.
Mm,
I got rid of most people. There was just Frank hanging onto my wheel, and on the steep slopes, I to be honest thought I could get rid of him, and you can't see the difference between 380 watts and 480 watts on the TV. But I tried to shift him, thinking I could. Then we catch Kudos, and I go past him fast, and I think again I can get rid of them both. And then when I realise I can't get rid of him, and it's that kind of rolling flat running to the finish, I knew there's some guys not too far behind, and when I've kind of done everything to get rid of them and they're still there, I didn't want to throw away the podium, and yeah, maybe I could have given myself a chance in the sprint, just swung off with a K to go, but I didn't want to lose that podium from behind, and to be honest, uh, with them hanging with me all that way, Kudos had been doing some nice sprints on finishing top 10 on the sprint stages. I wonder if the result was the same as if I saved a little bit in that last kilometre, to be honest. But I'm happy with my first professional GC podium for sure.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And yeah, I totally get what you say. Like sometimes you have to threaten to lose to be able to win. But really, like bigger picture, a GC overall top three is amazing. Like, did you go into the whole race wanting to do something in GC, or were you just targeting that mountain stage? And if you look, because sometimes they rode those climbs like super hard on the sprint stages to get rid of some of the bigger sprinters. And then you're like, well, if you get caught behind one of those splits, then oh well, I'll just ride in and get whatever result.
No, for sure. We went there with the plan to get a nice GC result. When you've probably got one stage to decide the GC, it would be silly not to go there with that mindset. And in Abruzzo, I'd shown well this year. I've shown my consistency, and I knew I was climbing well after the ride in Abruzzo. So
Mm.
yeah, we were really targeting that stage, but going for GC, um, absolutely like in my head, I wanted to win that stage. In in reality, I didn't quite, but I'm still really happy with the result that came.
Yeah, of course. And you mentioned Abruzzo, you got like seventh, I think, top 10 certainly. Um, and before then, you'd been stringing along some really good GC. Like everything's really building, I think. And how do you stay consistent as a GC rider? Is that even something you're targeting? You know, are you
Yeah,
going for GC all the time?
I think over the years, back in 22 and 21, I think I've always been relatively consistent.
Mm,
Yeah, I'd sometimes question myself as a bike racer, but actually, when you look at the consistency of my results, it, I'm not a bad bike racer, I suppose. And um, some of my friends would say, like, as a person, as a person, I'm stressed out. I think I've calmed down, but actually, in the races, I I stay pretty calm and just try and try and enjoy it. Like before the start, everyone's getting hyped up, whereas I prefer just to try and stay relaxed until that moment that really matters comes. And it probably helps as well being with Polty, the way we're riding as a team, as a unit. I can stay more relaxed. I've got my guys around me, and um, yeah, I think that's probably helped this year being with Polty and being looked after has kept me relaxed, knowing I only have to focus on those crucial moments.
Yeah, and how do you? I guess some of the challenge of being a GC rider, though, is always being kind of slightly switched on in the sense of, like one crash or a puncture and you're out the back, and then you've got to ride on. And, if you lose focus and touch wheels, that can spell, the end of a whole race rather than, if you're a sprinter, oh, well, you lost your chance today, but you get a new chance to sprint tomorrow. If you're going for GC, that's all gone.
No, I absolutely I agree. I think for me, I I try and stay relaxed, but I'm super focused on what's happening around me.
Hmm.
Um, so I yeah yeah I don't really know what to say, but yeah, I try and stay really aware. You know, I feel like
Hmm.
I well, this sounds weird. I say this to amateur. I feel like I am an amateur still, but I say this to amateur riders on group rides. Like, there's so many crashes and club rides, and I think it's because we're out in the sun and uh, we're just like just riding along. Nothing can go wrong, no. But the reality is, even if I'm on a when I'm back in the UK on a club ride, I'm always thinking what's happening around me, you know, and I'm the same in the peloton.
Yeah. And what actually then goes through your mind during a race when it's like a long sprint day and you're like, well, I just have to get through it. I don't have to race right at the front, but I kind of have to be around. Like, are you just chilling and chatting and, shooting the breeze with some other riders, or like, yeah, what goes through a professional's brain during a sprint day?
Uh, yeah, it's pretty boring at times. I do a lot of this. I do a lot of. There'll be like a rider next to me, and I just go, you know, like it's it's boring. I sort of start singing with some people. It's kind of fun. Um, yeah, put
Well,
in an event in the peloton. You know.
yeah, well, okay. What's your go-to song if you do start singing?
Mm, oh dear. Oh gosh. I can't think. Do you know when people ask you pick a song? I can never do
Yeah,
that. It just springs to mind. So I can't
yeah.
tell that question now.
No, no, I get it, but and yeah, like I completely hear you on the board in front. Was it last year at the Giro? Oh,
It's simply red. Simply red. Sun
okay.
shining on us, baby. You know, because the sun's coming down. You know.
Yeah, nice, nice. Yeah, like because last year was it? I can't even remember who, but it was like an Astana Kazakhstan rider, like just put an egg in Remco's jersey for just because he could.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it must be boring sometimes. Or like, was it Phillips who did the like dismounted, ran, and then got back on his bike just in the middle of a UAE?
Yeah.
Like, oh god, couldn't imagine. But I have mentioned the Giro a couple of times. You're currently not on the start list. Like, was the Giro ever talked about for you for this year, or was it kind of, was it part of your goals?
So came into the team, and I was still quite unknown. You know, they didn't really know me. I think from the training camps they were impressed, and then as the season's gone on, I think I've impressed them more. Hopefully, um, so I was due to do. They put me on to Abruzzo, and then I was due to Alps and Asturias. But after Abruzzo, they changed me for Turkey, um, to hopefully do a nice GC ride. But it was still on the cards to do the Giro. However, I've already done I think 35 race days, and we spoke in Turkey. It was still a big question mark to whether I'd go, and they felt like uh, I deserved to go. But having done 35 race days, I would come out the Giro with over 50. And I think the question mark was if I came out of the Giro with over 50 days, because it's a lot, and I haven't prepped as you would for the Giro.
Mm.
So they prefer to have me have a rest period and focus on the latter part of the season. And to be honest, I was pretty chilled about the whole thing. I just wanted to focus on the races I was doing, knowing that if I go well, there's a chance I go to the Giro. And for sure, like it'd be super cool to have gone to the Giro, but I fully respect the decision, and um, yeah, I just hope the team have a great Giro, and I look forward to watching them for sure.
Yeah, so you will be like not maybe not on the sidelines, but certainly at home, just chilling and watching them and seeing how they got on. 'Cause did they get a stage win last year with one of Baez brothers? Sorry, I didn't get that.
With Baez,
Mm.
one of the Baez brothers, Davide.
Ah, Davide, lovely. So yeah, like, do you reckon then that Giro 2025 is on the cards for you? Like, obviously, I'm making many assumptions that you'll stay with this team and everything will still work out and there's no injuries and things like that. But assuming everything stays as it is and you're crash free and free, is Giro 2025 something you're aiming for?
I would love to go to a Grand Tour at some point, so that would be cool. I think yeah, it would still be an amazing thing to do.
Yeah, and given your consistency, do you reckon you would go for GC at that, or would you go stage hunting?
Oh, that's not something that I've discussed, to be honest. So I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know, and I'd be down to the team to discuss. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Like, actually, it does bring me to an interesting question I've not even considered. Like, are you much of a time trialer, or is that because obviously you've got great results from climbing GCs, from what I can tell. Like, how are you on a time trial bike? Do you rate yourself, or do you think, oh, it's a work in progress?
Um, I don't know. I think it's. I love time like in the UK. I love a time trial, but I've not really done many time trials, and on the teams I have been with, the in the past the equipment has been questionable, and I think until you can until you can be on equipment that can match those at the highest level. I think it's hard to know, but my numbers are good. So I get in like the theory is that if you can get small enough, and I'm a pretty small guy, and your numbers are good. In theory, it's time trialing is something I like. In theory, it should be good for me.
Yeah, 'cause I find like a lot of it's just on mindset anyway. Like, if you're switched on for doing good in time trials and enjoying them, because yeah, it takes a special brain to enjoy the sort of pain cave you have to put yourself in.
Yeah.
Um, I think to the same extent, climbing, like, you have to enjoy going uphill. Um,
You know, I like the pain. I like it. I like it. I prefer it on my own. You know, I prefer the pain on or the pain on my own, or knowing I'm inflicting it on others. I less like following. You know.
yeah, yeah, I get that. It's kind of self-dosing, in some ways. It's like you control the taps and how much you're turning that pain on.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nice. Well, obviously, you're going to have this rest period. What's the future like? What's the rest of the season looking like? What are your goals for the season?
Yeah, so when they said about not doing the Giro, I personally thought I would go to Hungary instead and try and get a nice GC result there. So we're going to have a discussion on Wednesday as to whether if I come out of Turkey and remain healthy, then maybe I'll target Hungary before this rest period. But then it'll be a rest period, so maybe Hungary, a little rest period, and then it sounds like the latter part of the season are going to be races like Slovenia, where I've done well before, and then there's later in the season we've got the one days in Italy, and then I don't know if we're going to Langkawi at the end of the season. Someone asked me about that the other day, so
Ooh.
I don't have
Yeah, 'cause that's
a discussion on calendar in the coming days.
yeah, yeah, because Langkawi's a great like. It's a very interesting one in Malaysia because it's like certainly from what I remember, and perhaps they've changed the parkour somewhat, but it always used to be like 10 stages, of which 9 are flat and one goes up the Genting Highlands, and that's it.
Yeah, it was similar. There was one or two hard stages last year, but the Genting Highland was the GC day, and I think the question mark this year to if I don't know if the team go for sure, or but if I go, is they might not have the Genting Highland stage because I think there's roadworks. Someone said.
Wow. Just
They- I could be making this up.
yeah, wow. Gosh, like the massive showpiece, like iconic in some ways, part of that race gone because of roadworks is amazing, but fair enough. Yeah, weirdly, I only know about that race because of Pro Cycling Manager.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just because I got that back in '08 when
Hmm.
I got into cycling. Um, and that's interestingly like where your name first came up for me as well was Pro Cycling Manager. Because again, like I'm vaguely aware of the junior scene. Don't really know the under 23s, but I remember seeing like anytime there's a British flag on that race or on that game, I'm like, oh great, who's this? Um, so you're in a very niche club of yourself and Thomas Swift Metcalf, um, who he rode for a lot of Portuguese teams.
Uh-huh.
Um, so he only appeared on Pro Cycling Manager to me before I got really into watching.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and incidentally, I have met him since. 'Cause he does a bike hire as well in Portugal. So again, I have bought a bike off him for a week.
There you go. That worked out nicely.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Needless to say, we're close to the end of this. How can people keep up with what you're doing in terms of social media? Anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, I've got Strava and Instagram, and try and keep everything a bit light-hearted. So, yeah, I mean, it's just me, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's the first Strava mention we've ever had as a plug for
I don't,
social media.
they're they, and then maybe like cycling,
Yeah,
yeah, the Strava. I like Strava; it's fun.
yeah, yeah. That's fair enough. And
Out and try and get comms, so for me, it's fun.
yeah, and if it doesn't happen on Strava, it doesn't happen at all. Let's
Yeah,
be honest.
yeah.
I'll put links to that in the show notes. There'll also be them on screen. Probably within the last minute they'll have appeared. Um, other than that, thank you so much for your time.
Hey, you're welcome. Hopefully, you haven't bored anyone too much.
No, it's been great. What a fabulous episode that was. I hope you really enjoyed it, and next time we'll be in the wheels of someone else. Until then.